All right. Good morning, people. Bob here, back once again, ready to break down some Bitcoin. I'm going to jump right into this because this thing is getting wild already this morning. Had I started this video 10 minutes ago, this thing was green and it was way up here. And just in the last legitimately 15-ish minutes, this thing has just started going wild. We'll see here. I'll show it to you in a minute here, but this thing is just going nuts this morning. Wow is all I can say. I mean, literally minutes ago, this thing was up here, just pegged up here, and then it just dumped in there. And let's talk about what's going on here. So basically, last night we came down here, we closed down here on this bottom trend line. We're getting a bounce off of it and of this kind of ascending, broadening wedge like we were talking about, kind of like how this one broke down previously. Well, now the question becomes, are the bulls going to be able to defend this level? Looking at the 4-hour chart, I think it's feasible that they do. But man, this thing is just going wild this morning. I think it would be one of those times where it would be wise to just kind of kick back and let this market play out. Just because right this moment, I mean, that is not a predictable move. Like, coming back up here was predictable. I would have honestly thought it was going to stop at about 19.8. The fact that it got up here and the bears said, no, we are not letting you go back above this. And they're just pushing the bulls down right now. But the bulls pushing right back. I mean, this is the battle royale taking place right here. This is fairly entertaining television right here. But anyway, yeah, I mean, we're down here at the bottom of this, so now it's a matter of what happens here. All right, that's really what this comes down to. Now, what I think would be realistic today, at least based on the way that the market is behaving this morning, we may watch this thing just dump through here real soon. But I think that at the end of the day, that I'm not going to be necessarily opposed to it, just because if that happens, we should get a daily bullish divergence to follow very soon thereafter. So I mean, if we see this thing come dump right down into this range, don't necessarily be surprised, but be prepared for this thing to rip back the other direction potentially. Just very interesting this morning. Just very interesting, and you can already see the bears are winning this battle royale at the moment. But let's go ahead and flip on over to some shorter term time frames so we can see really what's going on. This, like I said, this thing is wild this morning. Here, let's take a look at the hourly. I mean, look at this thing. So here's my hourly chart. I mean, you can see it had this nice gradual incline. All of a sudden, it pops this morning, comes right up here to this 20,000 level, and just gets slaughtered. Right now, the price, this is not the actual price right now. This is the actual price, this $19,000 number. So, I mean, it went from 20,000 down to 19,000 over the matter of course of a couple of minutes, really. We basically had a double top right here, push down. The question becomes now, from an hourly standpoint, can the bulls show up and keep this thing in neutral territory at the very least? If this thing crosses down here, then all of a sudden you're looking at some, potentially significant downside, because the bulls will have lost control. Well, technically the bulls never got control, but the bulls would not have control of the price action, and it will just push down. I mean, again, here you go. Now it's under. Yep, here we go. And again, this one's got a bullish divergence, which is why it's acting so wildly right now. If we go in on the 4-hour here, this is not a Heikin-Ashi candle. This one is a standard candle, and you can see right now just how significant this price action has been, and it's just getting buried right now. I mean, just getting absolutely buried. Here, let's go ahead and we'll use this chart. I mean, look at this 15-minute candle. Like, this was a bull fake of all bull fakes. Basically, it broke just slightly back up above this trend line, which we can zoom out a little bit, and you can see that trend line is the one that we broke out of leading into the weekend. that led to the upside that we had. Now it tried to show, a breakout back above it, and we're getting a bullish fake out there, and just a nasty bullish fake out. Like, I mean, again, Bitcoin in the last 15 minutes, 13 minutes, has gone from 20,064 and sitting here currently at 18,922. Just crazy price action, right? I mean, and look at this thing, like just straight rejection, straight down. And again, same thing's going to happen here. I mean, it may have to get all the way down here before it happens, but this thing is heading for a bullish divergence too. I mean, this RSI value is obviously higher than this one right here. It's obviously higher. Well, it's not actually higher than this particular one here. Well, yeah, barely. But I mean, either way, I mean, this thing's going to head for some divergence there too. But let's get this thing back to the 4 hour, because that's what I have this chart specifically for. So at this point, I mean, again, I'm just not going to touch this thing, because once you start getting into these smaller retracement levels, things move very quickly. So I just assume not even mess with that thing. Now we potentially could have something like this coming into the works. So maybe it will actually find some level of support there, and then maybe come back roasting up this direction. But here was the big thing I wanted to show you. Before, like just a few minutes ago, this thing was sitting here perched on this as a breakout, right? Like basically this was showing that this downtrend that had started to occur, and let's actually use this trend line as our major one, broke out of there, came up, put in a bearish retest here, a very nasty bearish retest of this level here, and then it's down in here again. So now, this one here, let's just assume this one is just not really good anymore. That it was only good for up here to show us when it broke out of here, it was a done deal. Now, let's use this line, though, to represent the idea that now potentially this thing could actually grab on here and make a push to the upside. And it looks as though the bulls are finally starting to at least, get some level of control back over the price action, and kind of right where we, would have a line that would suggest that it could happen. There's some big news coming out today. Inflation data. I have not actually looked yet to see if the inflation data has been updated yet. I'm not sure if that might be what is sending the market into a wild frenzy like this. So while we're sitting here and we're taking a look, we could find that out. Let's see, inflation data release. Yeah, I mean, it's here we go. You look up inflation data release, and one of the articles was a fake U.S. inflation report circulating the day prior to the release. As best I could tell, it is not. Oh, wait, here we go. Okay, inflation is at 9.1%. That was just released a few minutes ago. So I suppose that maybe does make a great deal of sense as to the to what we're dealing with here. At least a lot more sense that the market. So basically, what we're dealing with right now, and at least my understanding, is the fact that essentially what the market is looking for is for peak inflation to have occurred, right? Last month, the idea was that, all right, 8.6% or whatever it was, all right, maybe that's the peak, and that the inflation is now actually getting to the point where it's under control. But I would say that based upon the now 9.1%, that obviously doesn't hold water, that in fact we have not seen the bottom of inflation yet. Now, speaking of bottom, the bulls are defending this level right here, this approximate $19,000 level, to stick with essentially a double bottom here. That to an extent, that's what happened over here. We got a slightly higher low. So same concept. I mean, if the bulls can find a way to just close out today at or above this line, that back tests this level right here. It gave us a back test of this level, and if we can see some positive movement, that would be a beautiful thing. given how this candle looks at the moment, I'm not gonna hold any sort of even a remote belief that that's going to be the case. I mean, I'm just, again, I'll wait until things settle down a little bit before I make any kind of plan one way or the other. I would be inclined to believe that the downside is still the one to look at. Again, we talked about it yesterday. This is a possible double top. Double top puts us all the way down here. So I mean, it's just tough to say. I mean, again, sitting here as we're staring at it, and the bulls and bears are just duking this thing out. I'm sure you can hear the excitement in my voice. It's fairly interesting, frankly. So, hey, either way, long story short, today, look, expect that this target is likely to get hit. I'm not saying it's going to, but expect that this target is likely to get hit. If not here, something in between here and here. Like let's matter of fact, let's go over to let's go to this chart. No, this is the one we want. This is the one we want. Yeah, no, still the wrong one. Oh, bear with me one moment. Actually, this is the one we want. So this is my short-term chart. All right, short-term chart, and let's get this thing cleaned up real quick just so you can actually see the information on the screen. So again, and these are the Heikin-Ashi candles. So again, it's slightly different than what the standard candles look like. But again, basically what we're looking at here, these would be our short-term targets. So, looking at this 18,768, and you can see here it's tagging all these levels that I got marked, right? Now the question is going to ultimately become, which of these lower levels is it actually going to need to come down and test? And then assuming that we do hit a measured move from that double top, that puts us right down here at the bottom of this level, which if we go ahead and zoom out, you may remember this guy here, kind of a bull flag of sorts that came back from the original all-time high at like 64K. That's the bottom trend line from there. All right, so if that were to get hit, I would think that would be a logical place for us to see some potential positive momentum recreated. But yeah, I mean, as I'm sitting here staring at this looks ugly, and really, even on short-term time frames over the some recent time periods here, even the short-term time frames, you see a lot of this right now, where you get this downward move, kind of a bear flag of sorts, and then again, just to dump out the other side. There's been a lot of that recently, just a significant amount. And a huge part of it, normally what you might expect is that when you start to get this pattern, when Bitcoin starts getting bullish, it not only puts in a higher high than this prior high, but it actually can get to a point where it's maybe not significantly higher, but higher enough to the point where it's very obvious that it was higher, right? Here, let's almost treat this like the double top that occurred previously. Like, it's not a drastically higher high. Luckily, the RSI does reflect that it did get higher, so that's a positive sign. It wasn't necessarily a bearish divergence that's leading to that. But again, I just, wow, it's just wild to see what's happening here with the price action. And probably this line right here is probably more accurate, because at this point it came up, retested there, and is ready to push down again. Here's the thing. So, we talked about this little guy yesterday, that this is basically a falling, broadening wedge. At some point, this thing will break to the upside. It just doesn't have a massive measured move at this stage, right? Like, so if it broke out here, then really all we're doing is coming back up, putting in another bearish retest there. But at some point, this thing breaks out, and then if we look at it and say, all right, well, now that breakout could lead to some more upside. Sure, it eventually could. So just got to stop the bleeding first. And anyway, let's talk about potential upside and downside targets for today, and inflation data and everything being understood. I'm going to have to say that our downside target today probably comes in here, which we've already basically hit, or potentially a little further down. Now this, let's actually get something that's got a standard candle on it. Yeah, here we go. So right now we're sitting at 19,127, 119. And again, here's basically the downside pattern that we've got going, and it's holding up pretty well. So just assume, the key here is always that you assume that the price stays inside of the trend lines until it no longer does. So as of right now, I've got basically this as a temporary low, then that would make this a temporary high after that, and then this would become the new potential low, then something up here. So if you just kind of follow this thing down, that might be kind of what you're looking at here. And again, there are signs that, again, that there is some level of reversal that would like to take place. And again, I mean, even this right here, I probably could turn on my divergence indicator, and I'm reasonably certain, there it is. It's a bullish divergence on the 4 hour. Let's see, daily probably not. Nope. Weekly, let's see how the weekly looks while we're sitting here. Yeah, weekly, this was the level we talked about yesterday. It needed to be defended very, very much so right now. But and again, we needed to get a bullish engulfing candle when we closed out this one here. Like, that was just a necessity. Now we kind of got this downward trend where we're working on setting lower lows. Granted, there's still a lot of days left on this candle, 4.5 days to go, but it needs to push back up real quick. Goodness, the market being so crazy this morning has got me a little bit frazzled. Again, downside targets are going to be, this would be a good one. This is a good downside target. This is a potentially good downside target, and then we've already talked about something in this kind of ish range, 16.6. Again, if that happens, if it does, expect that we will get a significant bullish divergence. That would be on the weekly, in fact. Even now, here's the weekly RSI from this red candle, right? Here's that weekly RSI right here. There's this RSI, which you can see is slightly above this level right here, and yet this price is below. Again, that at some point here, if this thing continues down, that turns into a bullish divergence as well. So, goodness, at this point, let's just see how this thing plays out. It'll be interesting to watch for sure. Upside target, I think we've already hit it for the day. I think that's the end of today's upside. I just don't see any reason to believe at this point that we're going to push back above there. Let's actually get rid of that so you can see better again. Yeah, this thing just wow. But hey, if we close below here today, if we close below this $19,000 level, I'm going to then look for this thing to really accelerate down here. And again, this chart's not terrible. It's a good reverse, and I could maybe make some adjustments on it too. Maybe readjust this up to here. Matter of fact, while we're sitting here, let's try that out. Let's readjust to the actual high there. Now all of a sudden, this is still the 1.0 level, but it should have adjusted our 1.618. So our 1.618 target would be 14,559 at that stage. Let's see if this actually does make a difference. Yeah, our 1.6. So 14,500, 15,000, and really anything in between at this stage. And again, that's why I came back over to this chart temporarily, because this one has a few different Fibonacci analysis overlaid on it. You'll see here that we've got a 15,000 target here too, but we've got a ton of different targets in between. Nothing in that 16,000 range, but we've got a bunch of different targets we can work with. So, again, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. That's really all I got for you today. I can't even necessarily sit here and give you definitive anything at this stage. Let's let this thing play out a little bit, see how it goes. Again, we've got some ideas to, if we lose certain levels, which direction we go from there. If we retain and maintain certain levels, and then otherwise, just if we're going to stay in this pattern, we just got to be prepared that in fact we'll just keep doing this until it no longer does. So again, it should be interesting. I appreciate you. We appreciate you. Hope if you were going to skip a video today, I suppose if you were going to skip a video, I suppose today would be the appropriate choice of days to skip, because I'm pretty much all over the place. This is some seriously crazy action going on here. And again, just look at the volume. Look at that. This is a 15-minute chart. Look at all that volume right there. I don't know that I could go back and find many more times that even remotely approached that level. I mean, here's one, and it wasn't as high. Let's see. Yeah, but you're gonna be hard pressed to find that level of 15-minute volume anywhere along the line. So, there's some craziness going on out there, and when you don't have a feel for what the market is doing, you might as well just sit on your hands and wait for it to show you what it wants to do. So that's where I'm going to be at for right now. Everybody enjoy the show. Get your popcorn ready. It's been a pleasure as always. We appreciate you. Talk soon.